I'm standing at a lookout point by a military monument 225 meters below sea level in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, overlooking the Jordan Valley. In the center of the valley is flowing a narrow, polluted creek, which we call the Jordan River. Beyond it is today the Kingdom of Jordan, and up there the hills of the West Bank. This valley is part of a much longer valley, the Great Rift Valley, which goes to the Great Lakes of East Africa. This is part of the land bridge between Africa, Asia, and Europe. This is perhaps the busiest bird migration route in the world, with hundreds of millions of birds going every spring from Africa to Europe and Asia and back. This is where Jesus was baptized in the Jordan River by John. This is a desert dotted with oases, and at some of these oases we find some of the very earliest human settlements. Jericho, just a little bit down the valley, the biggest oasis of this area, is considered the oldest town in the world. And all this area of great historic, religious, natural importance is today, like all this country, entangled in a bloody political conflict. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a modern one. It's about 100 years old. It was the British who made the Jordan a border between the Hashemite Emirate, later Kingdom, which they created on that side, and here the British Palestine Mandate. By encouraging Jewish immigration from Europe, promising a national homeland for the Jews in Palestine, and thus very soon alienating the local, predominantly Arab population, which began resisting this immigration and these plans for a Jewish state, and formed what became the Palestinian national movement. The British really helped to build up this conflict, and then they left, and in 1948 we had a war. In that war of 1948, the Jews, what became the new state of Israel, won, conquering 78% of what was British Palestine and forcing Palestinians out of it. This area, the West Bank and Jordan Valley, came under Jordanian control, and so Palestinians could remain here, and the original Palestinian population of the Jordan Valley was joined by Palestinian refugees from other parts of the country who came in at that time. Those people got to live here for less than 19 years, because in 1967 we had another war, the Six-Day War, and in that war Israel conquered the West Bank and the Jordan Valley. Mostly in 1967, Israel did not remove the population of the West Bank, except here. The Israeli generals and politicians, very often the same individuals, feel we need to keep controlling the Jordan Valley and clear it of Palestinians. This is a vital Israeli strategic interest. A buffer zone between Israel and the Arab world, between Palestinian refugees in Jordan and Palestinians remaining in the West Bank. So most Palestinians were forced out of here in and immediately after the 1967 war, but some remained.
السلام عليكم. كيف الحال؟
Those who remain are under a lot of pressure from the Israeli military government, which is really trying to squeeze them out of here up into the more densely populated hills of the West Bank. And that pressure has come through declaring almost all the land of the Jordan Valley security zones, military training areas, and nature reserves, barring farmers and shepherds from accessing it. And perhaps most importantly, it is the drilling of deep wells all along the western edge of the valley. And they're pumping out the water, lowering the water table, gradually drying out the natural oases of the valley.
This is the sign to show where the water pipe is running. So the water pipe is under this one, and it keeps under these tents and up to the military camp up on the hilltop. If you dig about half a meter here, you will find it, the water pipe. So it's about 20 meters, 50 meters from the house on that side. I'm prevented of using it, and they are not allowing me to get water from the water pipe. It is the Israeli water company, Mikarot. Because they have to buy it every 2 days. 10 cubic of meters to provide those small tanks as a way to get water every day. He said that his kids, every 4 days, they will get a shower. They don't have more water as it used to be before.
You can see this in Oja, just a bit south of here. The natural spring is running dry. And this is the Israeli pumping station, which looks just like a little fenced-in area with a building and a humming motor. And that's a very deep well, which is pumping out the same groundwater which would have come out in the spring and gone to the fields of Palestinian farmers in Oja. Instead, that water is going to the nearby Israeli settlements. In many ways, we can talk about a collaborative project of the Israeli government with the European and American governments to herd Palestinians into those islands, the so-called Palestinian autonomy. The Israeli military government is making life difficult for Palestinians in Area C, like in the Jordan Valley, and American and European aid is making life more bearable inside those densely populated islands. We in Green Olive will keep trying to bring people here to show you the natural beauty, to show you the archaeological and religious sites, but also to show you the political realities, to show you the fences and the checkpoints, the parched Palestinian communities next to the lush Israeli settlements, and things like this great Israeli military monument overlooking the valley, a statement of military power and control for Palestinians around to see.